Now it brings me to what infrastructure has government put in place in the field of ICT to enhance economic development?
Yes. Before you talk about ICT, you need to have a core, a baseline on which this ICT is going to run on, and this is infrastructure. Infrastructure is hardware. There are two major components of infrastructure that NITA has deployed for the government of Uganda. One is the fiber optic cable. This is a high-speed internet cable which runs all the way from the undersea cable to Kampala. And then it is distributed across government administrative agencies or districts and administrative areas. That is a fiber optic cable that we have been deploying. So far we have 4,000 let's say roughly about 4,000 kilometers of fiber optic cable all over Uganda. And then we extend that cable to the offices, and that's the last mile fiber optic cable, so that we have deployed within Uganda. This IT also needs a storage, a location where information is going to be stored. So we have built data centers. We have a primary data center and a secondary data center. Here in Uganda, we are hosting close to about 200 government systems at our data center. That has cut down the cost of those agencies building their own data centers. Just what I explained, if you are going to deploy a system, now if an agency wants to deploy a data center, they come to NITA. Instead of procuring a data center that's almost close to about 10 million US dollars, they don't need that cost. They will just come to NITA. Maintaining those data centers costs about 500,000 US dollars per year. At NITA, we will cut down the cost and we minimize and we maintain them to about 14,000 US dollars per year. So we have done a lot of cost reduction within our data centers. Thank you.
Well, now, how has this helped in terms of economic transformation or development? Because one of the things that IT, we have both soft and hardware. Hardware is visible.
Yeah.
It's very easy for people to know, hey, they're passing optical fiber here, and they will understand. But software is complicated. People may not see the work that you're doing, and they may not even easily understand that this is work done by NITA Uganda for us to be able to enjoy such a service. So these that you're doing, how do they transform into development of this country and the economy at large?
Thank you, Mr. Kirabo, for that question. And I will just explain it with an example. When we went into lockdown during COVID, the government instructed the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Economic Labor and Social Development to disperse funds to close to about 500,000 vulnerable people in Uganda. To do that, it could be done in two ways. One, either go to each district, each parish and each village looking for the vulnerable people and give them physical cash. And that could have been one of the ways. It could have been a manual way or a digital way. The manual way, you saw how it was during the disbursement of food relief during the first lockdown. It took a long time. There were so many challenges. It was so expensive, and not everyone received the food in time. So we opted for a digital way, and the digital way was to set up a system that needs infrastructure and software. Now, this is how NITA came in, and this is how it benefits for that work. We said we have a data center, so the government of Uganda does not need to procure another data center to set up that system. So we said we are going to provide you space, compute space for you to host your system. Then in terms of software, now the hardware part, we covered it. In terms of software, there were options to procure a software from a developed country and off-the-shelf software. But there were challenges also. It was also costly. And the cost of procuring it would be almost the same cost of, or half the cost of dispersing these funds. So we said, no, that's not an option. Second option is to use the existing softwares that are in government to tweak them a bit. That would be possible, but there was also still a cost element, and also a time factor. It would take about 6 months, yet this money should have been delivered within a month. So NITA came in and developed this software. So we don't just only provide hardware, we also develop software. We also train other agencies to develop their own software and manage their software. So we develop the software and provide it to government at no cost. This was done in a span of about the development process, because our engineers have been doing this for years. It took less than a week. So from 6 months to a week, we reduced the time of development for government to be able to use this software. And within a few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, the monies were already dispersed on the system. So that is part of the work that we do in the background, and that's what we intend to do further for other agencies.
Now this takes me, you talked about the software, which is really very important, and we must say at such a time, well, it was very relevant to the people, more so than needy due to COVID-19. Now, one of the roles that we must accept that you do is ensuring that even government agencies are connected, they have reliable internet, there is the e-government now, everything is running on that. Ugandans are getting used, that's the way you're going to do things. When you go to URA, everything is about that. But what are some of the challenges that you're facing? We know Uganda, we are a third world country, and issues of ICT, we are taking bit by bit. But of course, we know there are some also could be slightly ahead of us, but you're the people in charge of us getting us to that direction. So what could be some of the challenges?
Yes, definitely we're moving to a new area, a new field, and each move or each transition, you'll face challenges. We moved from the, I'll say from the first industrial revolution with challenges, second industrial revolution, third. Now we're moving to the fourth industrial, and this is a digital revolution, where there are very new and very complex challenges. But the biggest challenge that, to me, I've observed is knowledge or awareness of the technology. We can talk about technology till the end of times, but if we don't understand it, we don't know how to use it, then it is useless to us. We can provide the best technology in the country, but if we don't know how to use it, to implement it, it will be a problem to us. And that is the biggest challenge, awareness. It's a very simple thing, but it's the biggest and most important thing within that digital transformation. And this is what we're doing at NITA. We are informing government and private sector of the need of technology, of how to use it, how to use the right technology, why you need it. Is it beneficial? You will say you're getting a smartphone, but if I give my grandmother a smartphone, will she really use it? No. But she needs technology. Exactly. So we are informing them that yes, technology is needed everywhere. We can't run away from it, but let's use the right means and right technology in our environment. That's the biggest challenge that I would say.
Let's also look at the hardware. Yes, we've talked about the software. Most of the times when I move around, I see a lot of kind of construction happening. I see a lot of kind of destruction, maybe sometimes happening. Sometimes we have unreliable internet. Some of these areas, the government parastatals, those that are provided for by NITA, the internet. Let's also understand this, because we are moving in this direction. Very glad. It has eased work. When I talked about the e-government, things are very done when we look at ICT, the speed at which we are moving. We're not to be the best in the region, maybe, but at least I would say we are moving in the right direction. So these distractions, how do you handle them?
Yes, the e-government or the technology that we're deploying should be used to enhance people's lives, to make life simple. That's our motto at NITA. Make life simple through e-services, these electronic services. And the person should not even know, should not feel that that constraint in terms of technology, and should not be inconvenienced by technology. And when we're deploying, yes, as you have rightly said, you will see people digging trenches, putting this fiber there. That is an inconvenience. That should not even be there. And the original plan, the roadmap for the fiber optic cable was that let government put up this high-speed internet cable. It's very, it's actually, it has a lot of capacity, almost 100 G or gigabytes in one cable. So that we have a lot of excess capacity, unutilized capacity, and the plan was that this fiber optic cable shall be the only cable for Uganda, both for the private and the public sector.
Okay.
So if another service provider, let's say a telecom, wants to lay a fiber cable, they don't need to dig the road. They need to just tap into our fiber optic cable, or the government's fiber optic cable. And this was drafted in the broadband policy in 2018, when Honorable Tumwebaze was our minister. He drafted the broadband policy for infrastructure sharing. This mandated all of government and private entities that want to utilize or want to lay their own fiber to not lay the fiber where there's already government fiber. They can lay maybe where there's no fiber or where there's no infrastructure, they can do that. But where there's already government infrastructure, they should utilize that infrastructure to, one, avoid that inconvenience, prevent digging up of roads. You see KCCA has put up a road, then in a few months, water comes and digs it up, then electricity comes, then now NITA comes. That should be avoided by that policy. So that's what we put up a policy. The next step, I believe, is to implement that policy. The policy was put up. It's already in existence, but we need to implement the broadband policy on infrastructure sharing. And in that way, the best way to do it is for the Ministry of ICT to emphasize all infrastructure implementers that if you need to deploy, use the existing infrastructure, or else we will not provide you a license. So that's the best way to deploy, but that's at the ministerial level. At NITA, we are implementers and we guide, and that's what we will do. Thank you.
Well, that inconvenience is a big problem that you find, but we hope that that will see the light of day, so that we just have that one ways which others can tap on, rather than what is happening today, digging here, digging there. Well, we are still discussing digital infrastructure, and I'm with the Executive Director of NITA Uganda. These are the people that are mandated when it comes to ensuring that actually we move digital, we move as a country that is moving with the new developments in the ICT. And one of the areas, how are we coping with these changes? You know, one of the things that are very disturbing, though we need them, is technology. And when it comes to your field, becomes complicated. A software that you had today, few days it's outdated, all updates are continuous. I'm now speaking at my level, just with a mobile phone, where if you're using it and a lot of things, just wake up, update. Then also the gadgets, the technology, gadgets also keep on changing. So as NITA Uganda, how are you coping with these changes? I've seen some government agencies and they will tell you, the system we have now cannot do this, cannot do that. Recently I had friends from NIRA. I say, well, the technology we had, we are rooting for more technology. Then I'm like, then it must be worse with NITA. How are you coping with these changes and challenges?
Yes, thank you. And we have been working with many agencies, and NIRA inclusive, and that the reason why we are facing that challenge is that we adopted a technology that is not fully fit for purpose for our environment. We got a technology, in most cases we get, and that's the reality. We were not developed when technology was being introduced in Uganda. So we had to adopt foreign technology and then tweak it to fit our environment. What we are saying is that let's promote indigenous developed technology. So we have got so many developers in Kamocha, we have got Chambogo, even in Gulu. We have got what we call BPOs, or Business Process Outsourcing Centers in Gulu. Mbarara University, we're working with Camtech to have local indigenous developed solutions which we have developed for ourselves. Now, if you look at NIRA, what we're doing is also saying that this change or this technology that has been giving us a problem, why don't we develop it as Ugandans? Instead of getting a foreign technology and then work around it, when it fails, we have to now rely back to the foreigners who developed it, and it is very expensive. So we're saying, no, let's develop this technology locally, and this is across government, in NITA and also in other agencies. If we can do that, then we shall be able to overcome that challenge of a technology that is hard and complicated for us to use. If we have developed ourselves, then we'll know how to make the best solution for ourselves, rather than getting a solution that's not ours, and then we tweak it. When it fails, that's when we run back to the foreign developers to help us on this, and saying, no, let's do it ourselves. And there's a misconception that technology is complicated.
Isn't it?
No, it's not. Technology is the most simplistic thing in I would say, education, because it has only, I try to break it down into the most, as a professor, as a university, aiming to be a professor, and I was trying to make technology simple. So allow me to educate you and the viewers. If you look at what technology is, it's just only two things, a 1 and a 0.
A 1 and a 0?
A 1 and a 0. Played around, manipulated, moved, and just everything in technology is 1 and 0. That is very simple. You can't get more simplistic than that. So if you look at it in that way, how do you manipulate these 1s and 0s to give you a picture? Yes, the back end may be a bit complicated, but if you look at the core, the basic, it is very simple. So we try to, or what we're doing is, here in Uganda, we look at it as very complicated, but in actual sense, it is simple. And if we look at it in that way, then we'll be able to achieve most of our objectives in the technology field.
Idi, I'll be coming for more lectures. If it's about 1 and a 0, then I'll develop apps.
Exactly.
That can answer, that can be solutions to a number of problems. Well, let's go for a short break. When we return, we will still be discussing more regarding digital infrastructure in Uganda and how it has enabled, that is, economic development. We'll return shortly after this break.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra. Of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
Gataway MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial star 165 star 5 star 3 hash to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that short break, and thank you for keeping with us here on UBC TV. I'm Robert Chirabo Newington, in case you've just joined us, and I'm with the Executive Director, that is the National Information Technology Center Uganda, that is NITA Uganda, and we are looking at digital infrastructure and how it can promote, that is economic development, not just to say, and of course we're looking at what we have been able to do as a country through this agency established by an act of parliament in 2009, and of course they began work in 2010. So we look at what the journey has been, we're looking at some of the few challenges and how best we can get to that. Now let's look at your new baby as NITA Uganda, and that is the Digital Acceleration Program. Yes. This is something that of course we know, we believe that if it has successful implementation, it's going to take Uganda to another level. Because many people now that are not even on the grid could have opportunity to get there. But please take us through.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Kiravo. The Digital Acceleration Program, what we term UDAP, is a project that was designed together with our development partner, the World Bank. They provided resources or funding lines to develop this project, and they gave us, or they instructed on how the development would be done, or areas of development, and we worked together with them, with the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance and other government agencies, and we focused on 3 objectives. The first one is enabling environment, extending that enabling environment to cover the whole country, and this was in line with the NDP3. The plan that NDP3 set was we have to cover the whole country with infrastructure, digital infrastructure. Second is strengthening the service delivery through technology. So government service delivery will be better strengthened. It will be strengthened by providing stronger solutions or better solutions, and will provide, at the end we intend to provide services to the last person and to every person, not just people who use technology, but everyone should benefit from these services. These are the e-government services. The third is digital inclusion for host and refugee communities. Uganda has one of the biggest, I believe the biggest community of refugees. We are close
in Africa, we are number 1.
In the world.
In the world, you're number 3.
Exactly. So if we look at the numbers, that's close to even a country, a whole country. If you look at the numbers of refugees whom we host. And now if you include the host communities, because we can't only just take care of the refugees and neglect the host communities. These are people who have welcomed refugees in, so we need to also appreciate them in that area. We have more than, I believe, host and refugee could be about 2 million individuals who need to benefit from technology. So those were the 3 areas of focus. And the objective is to transform, to accelerate, that's the key word, digital acceleration. So the Uganda Digital Acceleration Program is to accelerate the transformation process. When you are deploying let's say if you go to in a developed country and you say, I want to change your network from 2G to 3G, trust me, it will be very difficult. Here in Uganda, we're saying we even don't want 3G. We even do 4G, yes, but can we even put 5G? We're not removing existing technology. We're just putting there new technology. We can get the best and most advanced technology and deploy it in Uganda. So that's the acceleration factor in this project. So we're looking at all aspects of our economy and saying, can we accelerate it from the current state that is very manual, very cost consuming, to a very effective and very fast process with technology. That's what we are looking at. We have earmarked sectors also. There are 6 sectors. There's health, education, hospitality, justice, law and order sector. There's also, there are about 6 sectors that we are going to focus in this project to deploy technology. How we're going to do that, it's going to be a 5 10-year endeavor.
Okay.
We have gotten funding and we've got all the approvals through. We're now beginning the process of implementing. The funding is also in 2 phases. There's a loan and a grant. The grant is specific for the refugee and host communities. The loan is now for the other sectors, or the government and private sector development in Uganda.
Now, when you talk about accelerating, yes, we've moved to modern technology. Does that also apply on how fast our internet is going to be?
Yes. We have, as NITA, we have the fastest internet in Uganda. We also have one of the fastest internet speeds in Africa. For this, if you can check, ascertain that through a fact check, you'll find that NITA Uganda's internet speeds are the fastest. The issue is not fast speed, it is the outreach. This internet, how many agencies do we cover, or do we deliver this internet? We provide internet to government agency. Our mandate avoids us to compete with the private sector. We must promote the IT sector, and the private sector is one of them. So we cannot compete, but we provide internet through service providers. There are 19 ISPs, internet service providers, who consume this internet from the government of Uganda, and then they distribute it to the local citizen. So the outreach is our biggest, I'd say, milestone that we'll achieve through this project. The speeds, we already have the fastest speeds in Uganda and in East Africa, and one of the fastest in East Africa. We're close to South Africa and Ethiopia, Egypt, I believe, has one of the fastest speed, and also Kenya, there's one provider, also has a very high speed, but in Uganda, we are the fastest. We have a target to provide this internet to close to about 20,000 government agencies. In reality, we have covered 1,400. Currently, we have 1,400, so there's a big gap to cover. And in this project, we're going to cover half of that, so about 10,000 by the end of 5 years. If resources allow, we could deliver to all the 20,000 government agencies, administrative units. Yes.
Now, delivering to these agencies, of course, it is reflected in how the ordinary man gets these services. But I want to look at another area you touched under this project, which is extending internet to the refugee camps and the host communities, to almost all the parts of this country, so that we have that coverage. Now, having something is very different from you being able to utilize it.
Yes.
I've gone in some part of this country where we have our main electricity dam that Owen-Falls, and I've just moved to villages slightly away from that Owen-Falls dam. And here I find Ugandans who have never tasted the power of electricity in their homes. Yet they're as close to the dam as possible. I'm even told there are people who may be running food businesses and their children are starving. So when it comes to this internet, the cost of internet in this country, I'm not an expert at that, but I've done a lot of research and reading. We're told when you look at the region, we seem to be slightly high in terms of what people have to pay to utilize this internet.
Yes.
Is there any way that we could have this reduced? And what explanations do we have for high costs of internet that may see people, it is there, but they just can't use it? During the times of COVID, we had students and they would tell you, Daddy, I need about 20,000 a day for internet. And you'd be like, Jesus Lord,
Yes.
you guys at university? No, we can't afford that. If you have 3 campuses, I mean, what would that budget be per day?
Yes.
So how do you move in that direction for Hope for Ugandans?
Thank you for that question, and that's a very insightful question, not just for NITA, but for whole of government. Providing services through internet, there will be a cost, and the main cost factor is the cost of internet. Currently, we are providing bulk internet at $70 for 1 megabyte per second per month. That cost, we were already initiating the process of reducing. That was through the RCIP, or the World Bank project that we completed. And the main factor was that we should reduce the cost of internet. So once we closed the project last year, now we've done the assessment, and now we're going to begin providing a new cost for all of government, which is estimated to be about half the price currently. But if you walk on the street, Omuntu wa Wansi, and you ask him how much is internet, as you rightly said, your son would pay a lot of money per day, 20,000 per day. That is not equivalent to that $70 per month. Yes, your son and the person on the street is using internet, and in most cases they are using it on the mobile devices. The fiber optic cable is a cable that connects to either an office or a server, somewhere, a building. That's where it connects to. Now, under UDAP, we looked and said if we realistically need to provide services, we need to go mobile. So we are going to also deploy masts so that people can use internet through mobile phones. They use the NITA internet through a mobile phone. We are going to provide Wi-Fi hotspots all over the country. So you can have a mast that will deliver internet. You can also have a hotspot or a Wi-Fi hotspot that will also deliver this internet to the last person. But we intend to even further reduce that cost to less than, below about $25 or less. That is a wholesale, but we also want to sell it to a retail. We want to provide a retail price, which will now provide a better service to the citizens of Uganda. If you are to equate our price to the commercial price or the commercial service that is being offered and that's being used majorly by citizens, the commercial service will charge at their charge is about $280. That is very high to the ordinary citizen. $280 per month. That's more than what some people earn per month. Yes. They cannot spend it all on internet. So we are working with the means of ICT also to lower that cost for the ordinary citizen through these private service providers. We're also working with other government agencies that also can provide these services to the service provider or to the citizen. Like UTL, the new UTCL that was initially integrated. We're working with them to ensure that they are able to, first of all, get that infrastructure revamped or reinstalled. Most of the infrastructure is along our fiber cable, but was not connected. So now we are going to connect all their base stations so that they can have high-speed internet and they can begin delivering services to the citizen. And this service should be the most affordable in Uganda. Okay. Thank you.
Well, we can't wait to have that time come, and of course internet is a bit cheaper. Well, in the interest of time, Dr. Mugasa, let's have your concluding remarks, more so with more emphasis on this new project, but of course to Ugandans and regarding NITA Uganda.
Yes, thank you. This project is going to be a game changer. We're going to have a lot of benefits. It's going to be a very big benefit to Uganda, not just the technology, but also enabling other governments to be very efficient. So we're not just providing technology to make the government digital, but we're making government efficient. It's going to provide transparency. We're going to be able to observe where leakages are and probably remedy those areas of leakages through technology. We're going to also provide new avenues of innovation. Innovations, the BPO centers, we are going to be providing them internet. And it will harness that creative industry within technology and provide a lot of benefits for the government of Uganda. For NITA, we are here to provide the service for the government of Uganda. I always encourage my staff that we are always in the back end, but we should not relax. We should always be on our feet. We always work smart. So whatever we're deploying, we should also deploy it internally. So we have digitized our whole document processing flow. You know how agencies are. If you go to government agencies, if you go, there is paperwork. So we're trying to move away from paper and using digital services, and we also want to introduce that to the whole of government, and that will make Uganda a more viable and innovative economy. Yes, thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Hatib Mugasa, who happens to be the Executive Director of NITA Uganda, which is the National ICT or National Information Technology Authority. And their work is very clear. They're there to ensure that we have the best in terms of digital infrastructure, and of course regarding how effective we can be able to benefit from this, because the world has gone digital. You can no longer resist technology, and all countries, that is the battle they are on. How are we doing as Uganda? Well, he gave us an insight and some of the challenges we still have. We hope for this new program that, well, even people, I love the fact that in refugee camps, these refugee camps are very far, can have internet, even the host communities, and of course other government bodies being properly linked and connected to that is issues of ICT. We've benefited from the e-governance, where now things are very easy, digital. You just sit wherever you are, and even if it's car registration, anything, it is done there and then. We avoid connection with people who may ask for this and that. And when you say this project is going to help identify some leakages in government, I can't wait to see it run. Well, have a lovely day. God bless you. See you tomorrow, God willing.
Thank you.